Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to our Intuitive Creator Spotlight series. Here we have amazing guests who share their stories to inspire us all. And today I have here with us Marianne. She is a passionate musician, educator, and creative soul. Her journey goes from classical violin to rock bands, and she has music degrees. She has experience with different performances across the globe, and honestly I cannot wait for you to hear her story. Hi Marianne, welcome to this interview.
Hi, thanks so much, Stella. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, I know that your journey starts from classical violin to rock bands and beyond. So definitely sounds like a very exciting journey. How did you decide to try all of these different styles, and what do you feel guided you to trying them?
Hmm. Um, well, I suppose uh, I've always been attuned to sound. It's like it's been my thing. My mum loves to tell this story that even when I was like a baby, that she couldn't rustle a plastic bag, she couldn't scrunch up a plastic bag because I would wake up and cry because I could hear that sound, or it was that particular sound. So maybe just being sort of fussy or something about particular sounds. And I've always just like, if there was my dad had a guitar and I would just sort of play around on that with my sister as well. Um, and then picked up the violin at age 7, like officially start my music journey. So that was in a more like traditional route in school, having music lessons in a group, then getting more serious and having them on my own, and basically building that community around music, which was orchestra, um, doing workshops, like other things as I got a bit more advanced, like being asked, oh, would you want to join this folk workshop today, and going on tour to Europe for the orchestral performances and being away for that, when I was like a teenager. And then at the same time, as we find like our own music tastes, I suppose, that comes from lots of different influences, right? Like you have your parents playing records or playing their style of music that they love. So you get that throwback to music that's not popular now, let's say, but like is really well known, or probably famous in the house. So my mum loved Enya, loves Enya, which is like sort of vocalizing type music, very calming. And my dad loves the Beatles, and Simon and Garfunkel as well. So kind of hearing lots of that, and then through that, I found my own path into, I guess it's punk pop music, which would be Green Day, Blink 182, all of those bands still around, Red Hot Chili Peppers, them being one of the first songs I ever performed in a band that was on the voice, singing, was Red Hot
Wow.
Chili Peppers, and then later moved on to bass guitar as well. So violin being my primary instrument in the classical route, and then when I was about 13 or 12, joining in, finding rock music and going, whoa, like my mind was literally blown. Couldn't even believe that this music like existed. I was just like, whoa. Because before that I'd only really listened to the radio, so commercial, you know, top 40 type music. And then
Mhm.
hearing this alternative music was very like just really spoke to me, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. Um so yeah, going through music that way. Um and I saw other people in my music group. So it's like a really large community called Berkshire Maestros, in Berkshire in Reading, which is where I grew up. And I saw a female bass player in the jazz band, and she did a solo, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever. She just handled it so well, and there were the older musicians who were also like doing solos with our orchestra. So I'd played with them for like years and years then, and I was just like that's the coolest thing ever. That's the coolest job. I was like, I want that. And ever since then, I was like, this is like there was no thought that could top that. Like, I just think being a musician is so cool and has always spoken to me.
How interesting that sometimes there are certain people that come on our path and maybe they're there for like a minute, an
Mhm.
hour, and they have such great impact on our decisions in years to come. This is just mind-blowing, isn't it? I know that your passion for music goes at a deep level. And I know because last time we spoke, you played the violin and you just that wasn't a song that was like from somewhere. You did that intuitively.
Mhm.
So I just want to ask you, what do you experience when you go in that space to just play those sounds, to create those sounds intuitively?
That's a really interesting question, which I hadn't really thought about. I suppose, well, that musical portrayal was in response to like a long conversation that we had, and it just felt like, oh, this is right to do this. And it was almost like those thoughts and those feelings and the energy that I felt from you, which was all really like really positive, very comforting, and but also very uplifting. But had like I could feel that like overcoming of struggle. It just sort of painted a picture, like a moving picture. If you imagine, yeah, like a film, it was all, or like a 3D film kind of like moving in front of me. Or I'm quite visual as well. Like whenever I'm teaching something or explaining something, I always use like a visual reference. Which works for me. So I suppose when I was actually doing it on, it's almost like half my brain, like a shark, like half my brain is on one thing, which is the technical aspect. So it's like, oh, I want to go for this note, or this is like a tenth up. This is like a big leap. Like I want a big leap now, or oh, I want it to be quiet, and I'm being like a murky sort of pond or a lake
Hmm.
kind of feeling. And then so the musically that would just sort of come out. So one half is on the technical side and the other half is on like the interpretation. It's a bit like it's a shadow play or something happening just out of reach, and I'm kind of just edging a bit closer towards it, like coaxing it towards me so it can come into the light. And then as it comes into my sphere or my circle of light, which is near me, that the notes and the, not even just the notes, but it's more like, what's the arc of the story? What's the arc of the sound moving? Um, and it's, yeah, it's fun. It's like an exploration. Yeah, it's a journey. Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting to hear that from someone who does that through sound because when I work intuitively with clients, I would use different methods, but I will still connect with what is in front of me in terms of their energy, what they're sharing, their words, the story. And so it's fascinating to hear that from someone who uses sound for this. And that was a very special moment because I really felt how you were. So to me, it felt like you were just moving around my energy, like really grabbing all the information to like, okay, that sounds like this and that. And it was just like, that's how it felt to me receiving that, and it was a true gift because sound is healing. I mean, can be healing. It can be used in so many different ways, right? But it can also be very healing, and this is the type of energy you are transmitting and sharing with the world. And I'm super grateful that you're doing that because the world needs peace, healing, and positivity. It really needs that. So I know you just described, how you create these sounds by understanding like when there is something that's like higher or like more like you described, murky, you know. Can you feel or tune into these things in your own life when you go through ups and downs? And do you use sound for yourself to navigate through situations like that?
Yes. Thank you also for it's yeah, you have said that that was a really lovely gift, and I'm just like I'm touched actually because like I've mentioned to you before, that was the first time even thinking to do that as like an offering, like, oh, here you go. So I'm glad it was so well received. Um and in terms of doing that for myself, yes, I would say, because I know that there are times when I need to vocalize, I need to let things out. So I'll either put on my playlist of music that are like belter songs. So I'll like belt them out and I can like clear some of the energy, just kind of feel refreshed. Even doing like actually vocal exercises, which are like warm ups, um even then, like, I feel amazing. Physiologically, we know that there is scientific studies that um singing is an all body effect. So what singing in a choir, especially like singing in groups, being together, is healing for people, regardless of whether you think you're a singer or not. Like, everyone has a voice, so you can like we all have this instrument, and the violin is just like an extension of that, just in a like a box, with strings on it. So it has its own different energy to that. So some, like, I do play other instruments as well. So see, voice, violin, the viola, which I have, which is more a larger instrument, but it actually is more like the human voice because it's lower down. It has this real, like, deep, rich, sonorous sound. And sometimes it's like, I need that sound because it's more earthy. Um,
Mm.
and it can really like just hit you like right, like, like deep in the gut. It has this bit like a cello as well, but I don't play the cello or have one. And then also different again is the Spanish guitar, and I also play bass guitar. They they communicate like the sound waves, and they have a different effect on you. So the Spanish guitar being like quite delicate for me in the way I play it, and the bass guitar just being like really dirgy. Like, I love that style of what that instrument can
Mhm.
do. So yeah, definitely. And I have, you mentioned sound bowls earlier. I do have a sound bowl which I got from Thailand,
Mm.
in the key of G, which yeah, which really helps, and is a beautiful piece. Sorry, I don't have it up here, but yeah, and that's also something that helps you to lock into and key into the moment then, because it has such a long sustain, it has such a long ringing sound.
Mhm.
It's, yeah, it is meditative. Even just hearing it, it's like two steps on the meditation ladder.
Yeah, it takes you to different places
Mhm.
if you want to go
Definitely.
there. But it's just incredible when we choose to connect with these tools, right? Like bowls and like the instruments that you use. It's so great for us to understand that all of this is accessible. We can do that. Even like if you go and look at these artists that would take any kind of improvised instruments and they would suddenly start playing, and you're like, oh my God, where is this sound coming from? And it's so cool to just feel the joy, the love, the creativity, or even sadness, grief, and because those sounds also bring a lot of profound energy, and it invites you to sit and reflect. And I think that even those sad songs, sometimes, when you go through maybe grief or a difficult stage in your life, those can be really interesting sounds to be with. So
Mhm.
yeah, thank you for mentioning about all of this visual, because I love how you describe in visual as well, like how this is looking like and feeling like for you. Now, I know that you also teach and you have students who come to you and they work with you.
Mhm.
Would you say that the majority of these people, they want to become better at actually just playing the instrument, the technical part, or do they want to play it intuitively more, or both?
Um, I think a mixture of both. Initially, depending on what age the learner is, because I do teach young people in their school days, and I also teach adults privately outside of any sort of organization. And sometimes that calling, especially as an adult, to like play music where maybe they had not so encouraging experiences when they were younger, or maybe they had an experience and it lasted for a while and then they just stopped for whatever reason, life just happens, or something's happened, and then trying to get back into it is like a bigger hurdle than when you're younger and you have your life organized for you by your family or your carer. So sometimes, like with the adults, have to be almost like more nurturing to let them know that it's okay, like that this is you're not the only one, you're not alone. Like, also, it is not a path that is you fraught with danger.
Mhm,
That anyone at any age can learn any instrument as long as the interest is there. So if you're
mhm,
not interested, you're not going to bother. So for the adults, I think there's this intuitive, like, oh, I've always wanted to, or I just want to do this, or I just love that sound. So that's the calling of it. And once they get past the basics of the technicalities of just doing it, then we can, even quite early on in the learning journey, is to play in a way that like speaks to them.
mhm.
So I've had students, like adult students, who they were using the violin as a way to um, heal from a very traumatic like job experience, work experience.
Wow.
Um, and they sung already, but then the violin was very new to them, but they also loved folk music. So being able to put them onto folk music, which was like not out of reach, it was totally doable for them to play along,
Mhm.
also create, and we were improvising together in the class, and then gave them tasks to do at home, or like, just try this, see if you like it, and if not, that's fine. If you do, then here's a few more similar. um so yeah, I suppose it's yeah, a bit age dependent on how far they can
Mhm.
like think forward, think in the future. Um
And you find that for adults is mostly because they want to heal or go into another stage of their life or transition. Is that what's happening? Or is it mostly like, do you find that they come for like with the intention to change something in their life to heal or to for the entertainment or both?
I'm not sure it I'm not sure if it's that they intentionally wish to change, but they've
Mhm.
chosen this avenue which they just couldn't ignore anymore.
Mm, I love that.
um yeah, and obviously I'm delighted because I love the violin, and I
Yeah.
almost like obsessed with it. Like, I just love music so much, and I think music can bring so much joy that I feel, despondent when I hear, oh, I had this experience and my teacher did this in the past, or oh, someone said this to me and then I just thought, no, I couldn't do that. And anyone who's like, oh, I'm too old or too this or too that, I almost find it like it's like my personal challenge to like have a conversation with them and hopefully make them see a different perspective on that, and from a professional to somebody who's giving this almost like a cry for help. It is like when you say, oh no, I can't because I'm to X, Y, and Z
Mhm.
to take up that. So no, I won't. It's shutting the door. And yeah, that's fine to shut the door on things and be intentional about what you want in your life, of course. But to do it out of, oh, I'm not able to, um, I've been shut out by other people, well, then that's where I sort of disagree and go, no, like creativity and creativity through music itself, and the joy and the love that you can get from it, and just sound making, even if you don't want to class it as music, then that is, yeah, freely available to us, to everybody, really.
It truly is. And thanks to beautiful people like you, we become more and more aware of the fact that it's doable, it's possible. It doesn't matter what age you are, it doesn't matter. Because you can, if you really put your intention into something, it is always possible. So I know,
Mm.
Marianne, that you have traveled to many different places, including Southeast Asia. So how can you share with us how did these places influence, or maybe how did they inspire you on your musical journey?
Yeah, yeah, it was incredible being there. It was actually the journey, it was actually the travel trip where I met my husband.
Wow,
Um,
okay.
so it was pretty special from that point of view as well. And so I traveled through Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam, and China. Um, for 3 months in total, so a few stops here and there. Um, the music, I got to see so much indigenous and native music. Some of it being like catered for tourists because we were in part on a very touristy trail for some of it, and in part as well, just kind of people hanging out and having a good time, and in it being like Western music, let's say, but in a different like environment. So um like I mentioned, I bought my sound bowl in Thailand, and I specifically really wanted it, and my bag was so full. I had a big rucksack like as big as my body, and it was so heavy, and I was like, I must have a sound bowl. I like literally just discovered what they were really by being there. And I bought the most expensive one that I could afford because of, and I talked a lot with the market seller about materials and um, what they meant and tones. And we went around like playing them all for ages because I was like, I can only get one. I can only afford one. I can only fit one in my bag and carry it around for another month. So it was really like a very special purchase and something like so yeah, so like capturing um of that philosophy, like the
Mhm.
Eastern philosophy and Eastern sound. So yeah, seeing that and hearing that in action, um, seeing bands that used unfortunately I don't recall their name right now, but I bought the CD and followed the band. They use like native instruments, but their sound was just like so unlike anything I'd really ever heard. They had a didgeridoo in it, they had um other stringed instruments. Yeah, it was just like such a mishmash. um and I think it helped me to, because I wasn't very strong or really comfortable with improvising for
Mhm.
such a long time because my classical route into music, I wouldn't say like it, hindered me, but it just set me on a type of path. And it was more like reading from the book. Western classical music was a big part of that. And yeah, and I think seeing some of that music and responding to it made me a bit more open, started my journey into being more open, and actually taking classes and taking instruction on how to improvise and
Wow.
understand it in my own way, like the way that the language I already know, but
Mhm.
then putting into practice in a different way. So yeah, I guess it was quite like, hadn't really thought about it until now, but
Yes, like we had a conversation earlier, and we talked about, you can only know like what is good for you after you try like so many things. And so
Mm,
you have done that, and then it was great that you listened to your own calling to
mm.
study more about, or to kind of go into the space where you were able to improvise more. And that's super cool because every time I see you, you have this beautiful energy, playful, joyful, and it's so cool that you just decided, you know what, I'm just going to share or learn how to express what I'm feeling or what I'm sensing. And now you can also tune into other people's spaces and decipher that as well, which is incredible. And yeah, as we talk about all of these different aspects, I also know that you have just been to a very tough mother race. Like, how is this possible that you combine music and creativity and all of this elegance with something that is so like really hard to do? Because I told you, I don't know, I mean, I don't think I could do something like that. And congratulations, because now you have a medal as well. Like, how do you combine this into everything else that you do?
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, you totally could do it. You definitely could. So I just leave that there.
Thank
Um,
you.
yeah, anything, anyone can do anything. It just takes preparation and practice, and willpower.
Mm.
And if the willpower or the shiny object at the end is attractive enough, then anyone will do anything they want, really. Um, but yeah, I found that, well, through the years of doing so much music activities, like people are like, "Oh, what do you do for fun?" I'm like, "Oh, well, I learn new instruments that I don't know how to play." So for me, that's fun. Like during lockdown, I picked up Spanish guitar, which I'd never done before. I knew a few chords, just basic, not a lot, but really learning it in a different way, like learning the music, learning the proper hand techniques, like that. For me, that is fun. Learning instruments is my fun. Um, but I needed something that was maybe just a bit distanced from what I there's so much, not like there's so much knowledge, but like I just needed something completely different speed, and
Mhm.
I found that boxing training helped me to channel what I knew from my violin training, which is all very detailed and very specific. It was actually the same in boxing, which is also really very specific and very technical, and is quite difficult to get right in the moment because of the
Mhm.
speed. And after doing that for a year and a half, shout out to Darren, my boxing coach, who helped bring my training up to speed. I set myself a goal of doing an obstacle course race like Tough Mudder, and it just seemed like the perfect one. Looked really fun. It's more about community. It's not about the speed at which you go and celebrating the first person. It's actually everyone gets a medal. Do you want me to show you?
Yes, please.
I can't wait to show it off. I love it. Um, so I've got my t-shirt.
I just love it.
Yeah, it's so fun. It's actually very soft as well, the
Oh,
headband. And the finisher medal as well, which is quite cool. So it just says, oops, it just says
ah,
finisher, and then it's got an engraving, sort of a skull and the fire, like the
oh,
people coming out
wow.
of the fire. Um, but I suppose this in itself, and like the ethos that they have at the events, um, was one of overcoming personal challenges.
Ah,
It was about respecting what you can do and trying to push that little bit further. So
you
I'm
wanted to
so
push yourself. You wanted to challenge yourself in a good way to
mm,
see if you can do it, and you've done it. Oh my God. And that
yeah.
medal, and yeah, it's maybe, sometimes you hear, oh, you don't need these kind of things. But
Mm,
actually, it's like Hey, it's a bit of a pat on the back. Well done for doing it. And it's also a memory that will stay with you. And every time you look at that medal, you'll be like, yes, I've done it. And
Mhm.
you've done an amazing job because I've seen some photos as well, and it looked like very hard work. So congratulations to you. And I
Thank
know
you.
that you have invested so much energy and dedication and effort into your entire journey to get to where you are today. And I know that in that journey, you read some interesting books. Can you tell us about this and why that was important to you?
Yeah, of course. So I am an avid reader. I love reading. Everyone has their own speed, they either love
Mm.
watching videos or they like podcasts and they do other things around it. Um, and that's, everyone is different. So, I love reading, and I found that before I was as clear as I am about, or before I knew really myself as well as I do now, I am in my mid 30s now. So after leaving university and thinking, I'm glad you said this actually, because yeah, because when I went into university, let's say, sorry, I remember having a conversation and the lead lecturer said, okay, so what does everyone want to do? Like, what do they want to do? What would you love to do after you study? And I said, I'll be a pit musician on the West End. So I want to play shows like Les Mis and all the cool one, Dear Evan Hansen, all the new things. I want to be a pit violinist. And that changed over the course of being there for the 3 years in London. Obviously, I found all of this music and these cool cultures going around literally on my doorstep, like running around doing tours and meeting all these people. And then meeting this amazing violin tutor of mine as well, who kind of just showed me that although I grew up with classical music and the examples I saw and the examples I thought that were available to me, doesn't mean that that's the only way. And they put a mirror up and were like, metaphorically, and were like, your personality and the way that you like to do things is too a bit out there and different, that being like a pit musician or being an orchestral musician is more like you're doing the same thing every night and you're following a leader, and you don't have any say in it. You just turn up and do what you're told, essentially. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. I just thought I wanted to be on the BBC Symphony Orchestra, and that was the height of coolness for me. And so actually, coming out of that, it was really um, not distracting. I was quite distraught almost. I was a bit like, well, who am I? Like, what do I do now? Where's my path? And so reading helped me to figure that out personally, figure that out musically, and then move on in my life in a way to where I became freelance, followed music, and actually pushed myself out of my comfort zone. Yeah, to where we are now. So I'm just going to bring over some of the books.
Yes, please.
Here we go. Let me
This
just.
is amazing. And I know that these are just some of them. So to everyone who's watching us, actually, Marianne has an entire page or document with the books that she read and what they meant for her, with some explanation about them. So if you want to know what kind of books were helpful for her, please check out the description of this video, because in the description you will know how to connect with Marianne, and also you will be able to access this document. And maybe some of these books can help you too. Thank you so much for sharing this here. And as we are wrapping up this episode, would you like to share any last thoughts or a message to everybody who's watching this episode?
Oh, yes. I think that I would love it if, from watching this, that you feel like music is available to you, if you feel that calling to sing, then sing. If you feel that calling to go over and tinker on the piano in the station, don't be afraid. That's what it's there for. Don't care about what other people think or what it sounds like. It doesn't matter. Just ignore everyone else and whatever preconceptions or judgments that they might have. Like, if it feels like it's right for you and you're not harming anyone, you're just sort of like pulling on the thread of creativity and of exploration, then go for it, because more than likely you're actually going to delight somebody and they'll go, oh wow, that person's having a real time. Like, that's amazing. And you never know who you're going to inspire with whatever you do.
Thank you for this beautiful, beautiful message. And it really spoke to my heart, and I'm sure it's going to speak to many of our beautiful viewers. So yes, don't forget to follow Marianne, connect with her. And if you liked this episode, please like it. Let us know your thoughts and subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Thank you so much. Take care. Bye.